Hello and welcome to the ALCTS webinar, Organizing the Peacock Parade, Faculty Buy-in for Institutional Repository and Open Access Publishing. I'm Jacqueline Bedoya, member of the ALCTS Continuing Education Committee, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. We have three presenters today. Carol Hixson has been the Dean of the Library at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg since August 2009. Deborah Henry is a senior librarian with over 25 years experience in the Library Research and Instruction Department of Poynter Library at USF St. Petersburg. Tina Neville is the head of Library Research and Instruction at the USF St. Petersburg Library. A few things to keep in mind for today's presentation. Today's webinar does not have interactive chat capabilities. If you wish to comment on today's presentation using Twitter, you may use the hashtag you see on the screen. We will not be monitoring the Twitter feed. If you have questions for the presenters, please type them into the question box on your screen, and they will answer them as time permits at the end of the presentation. Questions which remain unanswered while we are on the air will be answered offline, and the answer is sent to all attendees. This webinar is being recorded, and you will receive an email with links to the recording, the presentation slides, and an evaluation within 2 days. Please take time to fill out the evaluation form since it will be used by the committee to plan future events. Ooh. There may be a slight delay as I turn the presentation over to Carol.
Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to our presentation where we hope you will come away with some practical ideas for how to increase the participation of your faculty colleagues in your open access institutional repositories. If you follow the link displayed on this first slide and again at the end of the presentation, you'll find several handouts that you can take away from this webinar. One of the handouts is a bibliography where you'll be able to find the full citation for articles we mentioned in the presentation. The articles we've cited are only a representative sample that we found most relevant for this presentation. There are many others that may help you with your efforts. After the presentation is completed, we'll also be making available on our website the text of our remarks.
I am Tina Neville, the head of Library Research and Instruction Department. I began working with the USF SP Archive soon after implementation and have concentrated most of my work on the faculty collections.
And I'm Carol Hixson, Dean of the Library, and over the last 15 years I've been actively engaged in the open access movement and in setting up institutional repositories at 3 different institutions.
I'm Deb Henry. As a liaison to several departments and programs, I find the digital archive work complements and strengthens my associations and interactions with faculty, fostering a greater understanding of their research accomplishments.
Okay, so first a little bit about who we are to give you some context for our work. USF St. Petersburg is a master's level comprehensive, separately accredited institution within the University of South Florida system. We have 3 colleges, Arts and Sciences, Business and Education, and we offer 35 degree programs, including 2 fully online degree programs, to about 6,000 students. As of fall 2014, we have 95 tenure-track faculty and approximately the same number of adjunct or visiting faculty. And this number excludes the library faculty and administrators with faculty status. The Nelson Poynter Memorial Library, which serves USF St. Petersburg, is separate from the USF Tampa and USF Sarasota Manatee libraries, although we do share electronic resources with other USF institutions. We report to the Regional Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs of USF St. Petersburg. We have 8 librarians, including the Dean, and about double that number of support staff. We offer the full range of standard library services, plus centralized campus support for distance learning and classroom AV technology. One of the goals of our strategic plan from 2010 was to increase effective use of technology to improve library services, including the creation and preservation of digital collections. To implement this goal, we established the Digital Collections Team. The first achievement for the Digital Collections Team was bringing up our institutional repository the USFSP Digital Archive in March 2011. The team now includes 6 of our 8 librarians and our head of systems. It's important to note that working on the digital archive is not a full-time assignment for any of us. We share responsibility for different sections of the archive, with the 3 co-presenters actively working on some aspect of faculty collections. As of today, there are more than 11,000 items in the archive overall, and it continues to grow every day. It's difficult to determine the level of faculty participation in established institutional repositories because institutions are not usually writing about it. There's a general perception that obtaining faculty content for IRs is difficult, as reflected in articles such as the 2007 Census of Institutional Repositories in the United States. And then in another article reporting on a 2006 survey of 40 repositories, Hang Xu found that the average rate of faculty participation was 4.6%, with a median of 1.9%. The Baker and Quinn conference report from ALA Annual in 2009 noted that the University of Nebraska-Lincoln reported a faculty participation rate of 35%, using many of the same strategies that we've employed and that we will be sharing during this webinar. At USFSP, we have achieved a participation rate of 76% of our permanent tenure-earning faculty after just 3 years of bringing the repository up. And in those collections, we have records for more than 2,600 titles. So why a peacock? Why have we used the image of a peacock in our presentation? The idea of a peacock and its connection to faculty work came from a presentation I attended some years ago at a Spark meeting, where the speaker was discussing their institutional repository and the different stakeholders. He outlined the different players, faculty, librarians, administrators, and others, and identified each group with an animal. When he displayed an image of a peacock without initially identifying the group it represented, everyone in the room erupted in laughter because everyone affectionately understood the stakeholder group it represented. Now, some might find this image offensive. We would argue, however, that playing to the desire to display oneself to best advantage is at the heart of the successful development of faculty collections in an institutional repository. In this first part of the presentation, we're going to go over strategies for achieving faculty buy-in. Outlined here on this slide are the strategies that we have found to be effective and that we'll be elaborating on in the next few slides. The first step to developing an effective strategy is to talk to your faculty. Find out how they work, what they value, what they need, and as you talk with them, engage them in setting the policies for your repository. We used what we learned from our conversations to establish our policy framework. Freed, Foster, and Gibbons, in their 2005 article on Understanding Faculty to Improve Content Recruitment for Institutional Repositories, reported on their extensive interviews with faculty and cite the importance of those efforts. So as we talk to our faculty and continue to talk with them, we learn what is important to them. Our faculty were interested in showcasing their work and demonstrating its impact, as well as increasing citations to their work. They are not interested in anything that they think might put their careers at risk. And when librarians start proselytizing about institutional repositories and breaking the scholarly publishing model, faculty shy away. They depend on the current publishing framework for promotion and tenure. We also found that many are unaware of the open access movement, and if they have heard about it, they are afraid that open access means no peer review or quality control, or that open access works can be easily plagiarized. They generally don't understand copyright, and they often sign agreements with publishers without reading carefully or considering the consequences. They also frequently operate under the mistaken impression that they can post their work on a website even if they have signed an exclusive distribution license with a publisher. They also resist an institutional claim of ownership over anything they have created, which is why we chose not to use the term institutional repository in our name or in marketing the IR on our campus. They quickly lose interest if they are expected to learn a new system or do extra work. Doing research and publishing takes all the energy they have to spare from teaching, and many, perhaps most, will not take the time to contribute their own works to a new system. They often lose track of their own work and spend a lot of time finding their earlier presentations and publications and keeping versions of their work in their files straight. This also means that they frequently provide incorrect or incomplete citations to their published work. As Freed, Foster, and Gibbons note, quote, what faculty members and universities researchers want is to do their research, read and write about it, share it with others, and keep up in their fields, unquote. They also note that researchers struggle to keep track of versions of their work. They stress how important it is to talk to faculty in terms that they can understand. The attitudes that we encountered were also noted as challenges in the 2007 ARL Spec Kit on Scholarly Communication Education Initiatives, as well as in the 2006 ARL Spec Kit on Institutional Repositories. So we set out to design a service that would take these attitudes and needs into account. As you prepare to start your IR or to jumpstart it to increase faculty participation, find out what they need and want and work to deliver it on whatever scale you can. So as you talk with faculty, formulate policies with them. Policies may not be sexy, but they are an important element to ensure consistency, reliability, and to build trust. We wanted to be sure that we had faculty buy-in from the start, so we asked one faculty member from each college to serve on a faculty steering committee to set our policies. We archive all our policies in a section of the IR called About the Archive. With faculty input, we developed policies that meet their needs. We learned that they wanted personal collections to be set up following the organizational structure that they knew. We learned that they wanted it to be open to any faculty member, but wanted adjunct or visiting faculty to have to get permission from their department head or dean first. What your faculty want may not be the same, but if you want their participation, your policies should reflect their needs. Determining the level of institutional commitment you will provide through your institutional repository to your faculty is important. The principles of inclusion of faculty from all areas, equal treatment of all faculty, and lifetime commitment to them are fundamental to how we developed the repository and came out of discussions with the faculty. The lifetime commitment to them, even when they have moved on to other institutions, was an important policy decision that has been useful for us as we work to increase faculty participation. As faculty move on to other institutions, we transfer their collections to a separate section of the institutional repository, but we maintain the collections and will work with those faculty to add in new items if requested. Policies and practices like this go a long way to being sure that you're developing a trusted digital repository. Whatever you decide to do, document it and apply it consistently. As new situations arise, set a policy and document it.
Talking about things in abstract doesn't work very well with busy people. We found that our faculty will not read long missives. Like the rest of us who have too much to do, they best respond to models they can see. As we got started, we modeled the behavior we hope to see in our faculty colleagues. We created first a community for the library faculty and professional works. Each librarian and some of our professional managers have created collections within the archive. Individual collection pages provide information about the faculty member, their research interests, and other secondary links. These pages accommodate individual styles and preferences while still following a general template. We use our own personal collections to show the full range of options. So we are the lead peacocks in the USF SP Peacock Parade. We have also found that many of our faculty, as we've said before, are risk adverse when it comes to their careers. They don't feel they can afford to try something that might jeopardize their scholarly standing in their respective fields. As you move forward, developing a digital presence that resembles the academic world they recognize and value can be a very useful strategy. If your repository has different sections, be sure to establish a prominent section for scholarship and research. Faculty want to feel that they are part of a community of scholars. Replicating the organizational structure of which they are a part by establishing different sections for each college, school, center, or department may increase their comfort level and encourage their participation. In the 2011 article, Mercer and her colleagues reported 54% of the respondents in their study used an organizational structure that mirrored the institution structure. Make sure your scholars feel comfortable in their virtual home and can recognize their place in it. We have found a useful strategy is not to challenge the existing scholarly publication model, but rather to complement it and support it. If we determine that the publisher allows full text, and if the author has it available, we provide it in the repository. Otherwise, we create an abstract, include a full citation, and provide proxied links to the full text if it's available in our licensed e-resource collections. While we have a model and a general template for our faculty collection pages, as we said, we work with each individual to customize it. Typically, each page will have at least a statement of their rank and department or college affiliation, their academic credentials, their research interests, and their contact information. Personalized spaces for individual researchers has been cited as a good strategy in the ARL spec kit on institutional repositories, as well as the previously mentioned Freed, Foster, and Gibbons article. Some faculty may not want a picture of themselves, but they may want to highlight another aspect, such as their awards and honors. Some faculty want a link to their own personal websites, a professional networking site such as LinkedIn, or to some other site with which they are affiliated. We work with faculty to help them present themselves and their work in the manner that they prefer within our guidelines. We want them to be the best peacock they can be. We strive to create for each faculty member as comprehensive a digital portfolio as they want. Some want only peer-reviewed publications listed. Some want all publications but no presentations. Others want all of their intellectual output listed. By policy, we provide full-text access to anything allowed under their publisher's agreements and that they have ready access to. We run a program nightly that provides full-text indexing of any text-based file. We also have a policy that we will not knowingly violate copyright, nor allow our authors to violate it in our space. Faculty have often posted digital copies of their published work in open websites that are in clear violation of their publisher agreements. We will not allow them to post such copies in our repository. On every community or collection page, we have identical copyright statements that declare our intention to comply with copyright and asks anyone with any concerns to get in touch with us. Baker and Quinn summarized an ALCTS program where speaker Paul Royster from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Libraries described 4 challenges facing repositories. One of those challenges was described as the, quote, permissions patchwork, unquote, referring to the complexity of publishers' permission policies. We haven't allowed this challenge to prevent the growth of the USF-SP repository, and we take a more complementary approach to copyright for faculty work, as we will review in more detail in the following slides. If the full-text access is not allowed or possible, we try to provide at least an abstract or brief excerpt as well as the full citation. We emphasize to the faculty how such access supports their work and their publishers and drives more people to the licensed content, people who might otherwise not know about it. We add in international standard book and serial numbers and any other additional information we can find to help locate and identify the item. We note if the item has won an award or an honor. Our goal is to always help the faculty promote their work. In the case of monographs, we list the full publication information, provide a call number if it is in our physical collection, or instruct people to request the item through interlibrary loan. If electronic access is available, again, we provide a proxy link. If they have items in print that they want scanned, and if there is no copyright violation, we will scan the item, convert it to computer-readable text, and add it to their collection. We have occasionally tracked embargo periods and loaded content after the embargo was lifted by the publisher. In this example, after the embargo period ended, we secured the author's manuscript and uploaded it to the archive. The description field states the journal, volume, and issue in which the article originally appeared. This service developed out of a faculty request. We were excited to see this awareness of open access growing in our faculty. This slide summarizes what we provide for any content that faculty want to include in their collection. With regards to full citations, we have adopted the APA citation style as our standard for faculty entries. In the Mercer survey, respondents indicated that the lack of available statistics can be an obstacle to recruiting faculty to participate in the repository. Our faculty are very interested in use statistics as well. They want to become known to a wider audience and in being able to promote their work through a stable URL. During the 2009 ALCTS program, Speaker Paul Royster refuted the notion of a repository as the quote-unquote roach motel, where items languish unnoticed and unread. He reported impressive numbers of views, downloads, and other usage at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln repository. Our experience is similar to that of UNL. Since we brought up the archive in the spring of 2011, we have had over 4,400,000 bitstream views for the over 11,500 items in the repository. We share data like that with our faculty. We do it all, I repeat, we do it all for them. From our experience, what we hear and what we read, one major reason that faculty participation in repositories is often so low is that institutions ask faculty to self-submit. Indeed, the software that we use, DSpace, is built on the self-submission model. We've achieved over 76% participation of our permanent faculty, in large part because we do it all. We tell faculty that all they need to give us is their CV and permission, and we don't even need an updated CV to get started. Rhea and her colleagues reported librarians and archivists were active contributors to repositories and often submit on behalf of their faculty. Likewise, UNL attributed the fairly high rate of participation of their faculty because of the extensive services they offer start to finish. They do it all too. Running citation alerts allows us to let them know that we're keeping their profile current, and it's a good chance to get a copy of their post-print manuscript while they still have it in their files. As mentioned, we send periodic statistic reports, and we work with them to investigate the copyright restrictions on their publications. You may be wondering about the workload for all of these services, and we'll discuss this later in our section on a business plan.
Education is critical, and we take every opportunity we can to inform our faculty about the archive. Some faculty confuse open access with vanity presses and question the scholarship of some open access publications. We find that it helps to discuss these topics often, and when issues arise, we share information with them. To illustrate our own commitment to open access, we introduced an open access resolution from the library faculty to the USF-SP Faculty Senate. As we educate our faculty about open access, we have found a useful strategy is to offer to go over their new publishers agreements with them and to point out areas of possible concern. We do, however, stress their personal responsibility to assess the risks in relation to their own needs, and we encourage them to negotiate with their publishers as they see fit. These discussions have led to a couple of successful negotiations where faculty have effectively modified the publisher's agreement to allow for open access to the postprint. We try to keep useful information readily available. Some of the information that we give them or promote to them is international, such as the Spark Authors Addendum or Bell's list of predatory publishers. Others are locally developed guides or presentations. Links to all of these are provided in the handouts and are also available directly through our digital archive. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Of all the time we spend building faculty collections, a significant amount of time is spent on marketing. Knowing how to appeal to your faculty is very important. Word of mouth will support your efforts once you have some success, but you must be prepared to work at it constantly and consistently. As Geerveld discussed in her 2006 article, marketing for institutional repositories presents specific challenges since an archive requires contributors to be successful. Yet in most cases, the contributors you need didn't ask for the archive in the first place, have other priorities, and have to be convinced of its value. She looks at, quote, the IR as a product that needs to attract a market. Because of this, Geerveld challenges librarians to think like marketers. Develop your product, make it attractive, remove barriers, and communicate these features, and all the while listening and responding to feedback. With these challenges in mind, we use a variety of strategies to market our archive. The first of these is that we provide focused presentations to college faculty councils and academic departments. We also take every opportunity to reach out to individual faculty to provide a personal touch to our work and to show our interest in their scholarship. We also offer open access events and presentations to showcase the archive. We regularly contact faculty following announcements of their new presentations or new publications. We congratulate them on their achievements and remind them that their research will reach even more people if they post it to the archive. When new faculty arrive at USFSP, we contact them and highlight the archive as one of our suite of library services. We use this opportunity to discuss open access and to illustrate how they can benefit by adding their scholarship to the archive. As you seek to get new faculty to participate, prepare a cheat sheet such as our What's in it for You sheet that you can give them in hard copy as a link or as a file attachment. And as part of these discussions, we also talk to our faculty about collecting student work. Some faculty see the value for their students more easily than they see it for themselves. We make many presentations, both formal and informal, on the institutional repository throughout the year. Every year we have events scheduled for Open Access Week. Whatever we do, we put our presentations into the repository before the event. This allows us to call the presentations up live from within the archive, and we can provide them the link to it later. We also sometimes bring in internationally known experts to help us make the case. In January 2012, we brought in 2 international copyright experts for an all-day series of presentations and workshops, which was heavily attended. Faculty have also asked us to bring back one of the speakers for another session. And of course, it never hurts to have people high up in the university hierarchy agree to set an example. Our new provost has not only joined the archive, he is actively encouraging other administrators and faculty to join as well. This is a collection from the Dean of the College of Education, a collection that we just set up following encouragement from our new Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Last year, we reached out to faculty whom we knew to be supporters of the archive and asked them to write testimonials. We created a link to all the testimonials and we market it within the archive, as well as send that link out to new faculty we are seeking to set up in the archive. We hope to add additional testimonials as the collection grows. We promote new collections within the archive itself, as shown here on one of the community pages in our archive. We also make every effort to keep the archive current. When a major donation naming the College of Business was announced just a few weeks ago, we made sure the newly revised college logo was loaded onto the community page within 24 hours of the announcement, and we also provided a link to the announcement. When faculty promotions are announced, we make sure to immediately add their new rank to their faculty pages. We have a Facebook page just for the archive, and we post updates on new collections, items, or services there. We also push these postings out to the main library Facebook page and to other university Facebook pages. In addition, we have a blog for digital collections. Social media avenues allow us to highlight individual publications or new collections. This also gives us the opportunity to create interest in the archive and to push the use of new and junior faculty pages. On our library homepage, the icon to find USF-SP scholarship is featured prominently on the page and leads directly to the digital archive. So in sum, our marketing efforts focus on being reliable and innovative. In setting up a service like this, you're asking faculty to take a leap of faith. To get their trust, you need to deliver what you say you will, be responsive and provide a quick turnaround, listen to suggestions and implement what you can, and always try to continue to develop new features and services. We appreciate suggestions and consider every suggestion and comment as a way to improve our site. One of the first faculty collections we established was for Dr. Mark Pezzo. When he looked at his collection page, he couldn't figure out how to see what was in his collection. The software had the links to searching the collection off to one side. Because of that comment, we embedded a link front and center near the top of the page to view all items. And this is now a standard feature on all of our pages throughout the archive. One of our most popular library events is when we host faculty lightning talks, where faculty have 5 minutes to talk about their research. We video and digitize the talks and now provide access to them through a new collection in the digital archive. Services such as this add value far beyond simply providing a digital portfolio of their publications. These new services will then be additional tools for you to use in marketing. Recently, our University Advancement Office was looking for a way to identify and promote USF-SP faculty to the local community and to the news media. Working with faculty who agreed to take part, we asked for a brief bio and a list of subject terms that they feel describes their areas of research and expertise. We use contact and educational information already available in the archive to create a document that is added to their personal collections. This document is also linked to a new collection page to provide easy access to the list of experts and to their areas of expertise. We bring in new people or add new services as we have the time to turn things around in a reasonable time period. As more people join in, more people want to join in. Peacocks like to parade. In the past, we sent irregular emails to the faculty with PDF pages attached showing the views of their collection. However, those pages were difficult to interpret and weren't particularly useful for them or for us. For our most recent round of statistical reporting, we decided to create a more logical way to illustrate the use of their collections. With the help of a student assistant, we created individual 1- to 2-page reports and sent them to each person in the archive. The new system shows total views for each entry and also provides a listing of the countries that have the most views of their pages. We include the top country information because it is a tangible way of illustrating international research, something that isn't always easy to define. The response to our new statistical reports was amazing. We received numerous emails expressing appreciation for the reports and adding comments like, "You made my day," and "This is good motivation to carry on with my work." The statistical reports also act as a great marketing tool for the archive and for the library in general. Not only do the reports show that we remain interested in their work, it serves as a great reminder to them to review their own pages. We were notified of several new publications that we had missed in our electronic alert system. And it is a good way to keep library services in general on their radar. Included in their responses were several requests for library instruction sessions and a request to meet regarding finding additional metrics for promotion and tenure. If we tell faculty that the archive can help them demonstrate the restart of their research, then it is a useful strategy to show them how they can use the archive as one metric as they prepare their tenure and promotion portfolios. However, we do not interpret the statistics for them. Our policy is that it remains their responsibility to interpret their own data for their tenure and promotion portfolios. In our Faculty Services LibGuide, we also highlight the repository and faculty collections within it.
Finally, we also help our faculty through promotion of their students' research efforts. Setting up student collections, not just for theses, but also for individual classes, has proven to be quite popular with some faculty. This has been a backdoor way for us to attract some faculty who could see the advantage for their students, but then realize later what it could do for them. There are many different approaches to developing a business model, depending on the approach you take. Whatever approach you decide to take, be realistic and don't jump in assuming that funding will materialize. Analyze your capacity to absorb the workload and management of the institutional repository. Can you absorb the staffing and other resource needs, or do you absolutely have to have other resources before you can start? Approach it for the long haul and be prepared to grow incrementally. If you plan to absorb the staffing and other resource needs, divide up responsibility among more than one person and have some overlap in responsibilities. Unless you are able to fund and recruit people to work on the IR full-time, the work can be appropriately divided up among numerous interested parties. Tie your effort to strategic plans. Our effort came out of our library strategic plan. It also tied into the institution's strategic plan, even though they didn't necessarily know it at the time. Tying it to strategic planning is essential for justifying the expenditure of time and other resources needed. Do a pilot and track the time it takes you to carry out the work you've set out for yourself. If your institution wants you to do this for your faculty, such data can feed into a funding proposal or budget request. Outline the operational, technical, policy, marketing, management, and staffing costs. Include the time spent administering the site, recruiting for content, preparing handouts and presentations, adding in content, and more. Costs are going to vary on the level and type of metadata you decide to provide. What are your plans for long-term preservation of the content you are collecting? Barton and Walker's 2003 article presents a comprehensive model. So consider the costs of building it in-house versus hosted or joining in a multi-institutional effort. There are some functions for which we lack in-house expertise, and we contract those out as needed. Add on new services when you're able to handle them. Start simply and expand from a platform of success. Our business model is based on revising the work assignments of a group of people slightly so that we do not need a dedicated position. You may not be able to follow that model and might need a more structured, formalized approach. While specific workflows will vary depending on the software, staffing levels, how many premium services are being provided for your faculty, and other factors, there are some common approaches. We have provided a couple of sample workflows in our handouts based on our model of proxied or mediated submissions and a high level of service provided. Whatever your service level, delegate work to the lowest level of staff possible and utilize templates as much as possible. Divide up responsibilities and build in some overlap of responsibilities so that the operation can continue if one person is gone. Use shared worksheets, project management sites, and more to track who is doing what. We have shared spreadsheets, and we also use project management software to help us keep track of who is doing what. Document your processes so that someone else can carry on if a key person leaves and so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. As we move forward, we are facing some challenges. For us, the main challenges include that the software has some limitations and we don't have in-house expertise to modify it, even though it is open source. Some of the more senior faculty see no need to participate in the archive. Their peacock feathers are bright enough. For these faculty, we are trying to sell them on the idea of building their digital portfolio as their legacy. A huge challenge, even with our model of distributed work among a group, is having the time to go as far as we would like to go with our services. Getting faculty to submit their own work. Do you even want them to? We used to think that was our desired model, but we've pulled away from the model because of inaccurate citations being provided, limited faculty understanding of copyright restrictions, and simple metadata errors. For us, in the short term, it is far simpler to submit on behalf of faculty than it is to clean up after them. So where do we plan to go from here? We hope to continue to develop innovative services and marketing, and we're soon going to need to upgrade our software and our technical infrastructure. This includes developing more useful and user-friendly statistics, strengthening our backup and preservation setup, being able to customize look and feel, being able to handle an increasing array of multimedia content and deliver it to end users more effectively. If we're also going to be able to move on to other new services, we need to get additional funding to provide focused staffing so that the library faculty can move into other new areas. We have proven the utility of the archive to the campus and now have the hope of obtaining new funding to support it. We would like to find a way to tie into the statewide context for archives, which uses a different platform, as well as the share system being developed by ARL, the Association of American Universities, and the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities. We're also moving into the realm of open access to research data, and we need to determine if the IR can provide the needed support for research data. In summary, we have found these to be useful strategies for getting high adoption of the IR among our faculty. We have taken this on without any permanent additional funding, although we did receive a small jump start in our first year with a Chancellor's Award of $10,000 that we used to pay for a student assistant. We are gratified that the University administration now sees the value of using the archive to promote the new strategic plan through showcasing faculty work in the archive. So thank you very much for your interest and attention, and we'd be happy to answer any questions and discuss anything that we've talked about.
Thank you so much, Carol, Deborah, and Tina. There are a few questions, so we'll see how many we can get to. Any unanswered ones will be answered offline and sent to all attendees. So the first question is, do you get written permission from faculty?
We do in the sense of getting it through email. So we have that email confirmation.
Great. Let's see. The next question is, how often do you have faculty lightning talks, and who attends the session?
We always do the faculty lightning talks every year during our research month, which is in April, and the people who attend are the faculty members who are presenting, some of their colleagues, some of their students, and administrators. So it has fairly broad attendance, and we have certainly talked about doing them more frequently, but we are committed to doing them once a year during April, the research month.
We've had about 10 to 12 faculty participate in each event that we've had so far, and I think they enjoy it as much as we do to find out what their colleagues are doing. And one of the ways that we encourage them to participate in the actual speaking part is those who have gotten internal grants at the university, internal research grants, are asked to talk about their projects. So that's one way we encourage them to participate.
And Deb wanted to remind me that we also have food and wine at the reception, so that never hurts.
Wonderful. Let's see, the next questions come in. How many library staff work on the institutional repository, and though you work part-time on it, is someone in charge?
There are a total of, I think, 6 of us right now who are working in the archive, maybe 7 of us. 6 librarians and our systems person have various levels of responsibility. Who's in charge? I think that we're all in charge of different aspects of it. There are 4 of us, maybe 5 of us who are set up as administrators. So we all know how to do different parts of the work in the site, and we back each other up.
The dean is being kind. She's already set up several successful repositories and has encouraged those of us on the archive team to get outside education. Several of us have attended the digital archive, digital preservation workshops, other kinds of support, and she's been a great mentor for all of us to do that.
So we have 3 of us, Deb, Tina, and I are focusing our efforts on the faculty collections. There are other people who focus on the community outreach, other people who focus on sort of the institutional history section of the archive. So we have areas of specialization even though we can back each other up. And we have one student assistant who is helping us by submitting some materials, who helped us pull together the statistical reports. And she works, right now she's working about 20 hours a week.
Speaking of hours, my question would be, how much time would you estimate you spend on this a week?
It varies greatly from week to week. I'm going to let Deb answer here.
I'd probably say maybe 10% of my time, if you look at a 40-hour week, I probably spend on average over the course of the semester. Now we have big bumps where we get big pushes and we'll get a bunch of CVs in to work on. But then there's always follow-up with faculty, emailing back and forth. Again, like I said, we try to tailor these profiles to them. So if there's any information, additional information that we're not sure about, verifying. And then, as we mentioned, we do the alerts. We use both Google Scholar and Web of Science to set up alerts for all of our participants, and so we get those usually monthly, and so then we update profiles. And again, there's a lot of communication back and forth and things like that. That's why I say maybe 4 hours. I don't know. It's kind of hard.
And I also want to emphasize one of the points that Tina made. A lot of the work that we do with faculty feeds naturally into other more standard library services. So in the course of having a conversation or an email exchange with a faculty member about their collection, they then ask us to have an instructional session set up, to have some assistance with their research. So it feeds naturally in, so it's hard to determine how much of the time is spent on the archive because it's just part of our standard suite of services at this point.
Sure. Another question. What kind of training do you provide staff about interpreting copyright rules and license agreements?
We take a fairly conservative approach. And in terms of training staff relating to the archive, we all have the same knowledge base. We've worked together at looking through Sherpa, and we will contact publishers, look at publishers' websites directly, but when in doubt, we don't. When in doubt, we take the most conservative approach possible, which is we provide a citation and a link to proxied access and an abstract.
I just wanted to add, as far as training your staff, our dean is very supportive of us, and I think Tina already mentioned this, that we have a lot of opportunities to sit in on webinars and other kinds of workshops that help us keep that knowledge kind of in the forward part of our brains. We also have worked out workflows, processes that we can follow, steps that everybody who's doing this goes over with the person who's sort of serving as their mentor until they get up and running. And so, you go through the process of checking these different sites and different information sources to make sure that we understand what publishers allow, what they won't. So I would say that there's a lot of opportunities for staff to keep up to date, and as we mentioned, we did bring in Kenny Cruz and some other copyright experts, so we're trying not only to keep ourselves educated and up to date, but also educate our community of faculty and students even. So.
And we also keep up with any new educational opportunities. Although I took an ACRL copyright course a number of years ago, I also just recently took the MOOC on copyright that was offered by Duke and UNC Chapel Hill and Emory, I believe it was, to just be sure that I was up to date on how things are going. So.
And as we interact with faculty on this, we emphasize that we're giving our best interpretation, and we have referred people to university counsel at times, so we really do know where our limitations are, and we emphasize that we're not experts, but we can give our opinion, but then it's up to them and other people to do their own negotiation and interpret their own agreements.
Okay, sort of along those lines, are you finding that more publishers allow you to post published articles in the repository? Do you try to get permission from those that don't have open access policies?
We do work with the faculty to get postprints. We've found that a lot of the large publishers will allow the postprint of the manuscript, the Word version after peer review, but sometimes after an embargo. But we've also been finding that a lot of the faculty don't keep those copies. Once they get their PDF or their PDF proofs, they get rid of their manuscript. And in asking some of the faculty, we've also found that there are a number of faculty that don't want the postprint up, that they feel that there were enough changes before the PDF version that they would rather not put up the postprint. So it's been kind of interesting. In addition, we have worked with some, we will email or contact publishers for the faculty members if they're interested in, and it's not clear what the copyright policy is. We've had limited success with that. We've had a few publishers that have come back and said, fine, go ahead and post it, and then as you can imagine, we've also had some who completely ignored us. But as time permits, we do try and do that as well.
I was just going to add that it really depends. We had an education professor who had published a couple of things with the Florida Reading Association, who had a very clear policy about not posting until at least a year afterwards, after their online journal had appeared. But after the 12 months or so, we actually sent a personal email, and they were fine. So what we do is we save those emails, we make them PDF, and we hide them behind the record in the archive as proof that we've gotten permission to do that kind of thing. So it really, as Tina was saying, it depends on the publisher and how you approach them. But we give it our best shot, I guess. So.
One of the challenges is that, as I'm sure many of you know, some publishers will allow you to post the version of the article, but not their formatted version. So as Tina said, most faculty, once it's published, they lose the files, delete the files, so they don't have their original files. So it would be possible to go back and recreate an allowable version, but we don't have that kind of staffing time. So if the faculty member does not have a legitimate version of that file, then all that we do is provide the links and the citation and the abstract.
Great. Next question. Does the institutional archive collect the Born Digital University records, e.g. catalogs, university publications, etc.?
Oh, yes, we do. And not just the Born Digital ones, but also going back and digitizing records and making them available. So that is part of our institutional mission. We are the university archive, and so we're just simply moving that function into the digital realm.
Okay, great. One more question. Do you offer to pay for open access publication? And if so, how popular is it?
Oh, well, that's we've had certainly discussions about that with a number of faculty. Our faculty who have really bought into the open access model and who are trying to find opportunities for publishing in open access journals. We've been asked a number of times. We don't have that type of funding available. We've made presentations to higher up administration for having a fund to support that. So far that hasn't gotten traction, but I think that we're at the point now we have a new president of our Faculty Senate, who is one of the participants in the archive, and it's conceivable that Faculty Senate could take forward a resolution to the university administration to get some funding for that. It would certainly be popular among a number of our faculty.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. So it seems there are a lot of places for faculty to post profiles, such as ORCID, OpenScholar, Researcher.com, academia.edu. Why is it important to have another place for this information?
Well, that's one of the things that is important is for the institutional reputation. And what we try to do is we make it easy for faculty, because you're right, they do have other places to provide access to their work, but we have some services and some added features that are not necessarily available in those other sites. Unless faculty do that themselves, faculty could enrich those portfolios in those sites themselves, but we are doing that for them. The added benefit of our site is registered, of course, and so it gets a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming in from the open internet, so they can see the impact of having their work made available here. So we see it as a complementary service, but from the institutional standpoint, it's one place to see what the institution as a whole has to offer. So that's an aspect that isn't necessarily available in some of those other sites.
Fantastic. You've definitely convinced me. Okay, let me switch the screen. Felicity. Perfect. Thank you, Carol, Deborah, and Tina, for your advice and for sharing some tips of the trade for getting faculty buy-in. Thank you to all of our attendees. We hope you found today's session useful. You'll soon receive a short online evaluation form. Please take a few minutes to respond to the questions and return the form to us. Your comments are very valuable and help us plan new continuing education offerings. Information about all ALCTS webinars can be found on the ALCTS homepage. Suggestions for webinars and other continuing educational opportunities are welcome at any time. I would like to thank Felicity Dykes for providing technical support for today's webinar. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we hope you'll participate in other ALCTS continuing education offerings again in the future.